It began with a whisper of unease, a suggestion so soft and innocuous he almost dismissed it. His work as an affable troubleshooter and negotiator often took him away from home, leaving his wife, Suzanne, to manage her own demanding schedule. Over the years, they had developed a rhythm, a habit of keeping each other informed of their comings and goings. On Thursday morning, a business deal was finalized ahead of schedule. Contracts were signed, and a matter on the coast required his immediate attention. This particular assignment was meant to keep him away for a full week, concluding on Saturday. The plan was to leave Los Angeles at 9:15 p.m. and land in Seattle well after midnight. He had insisted Suzanne not trouble herself with picking him up from SeaTac. He'd arranged for a shuttle and expected to be at their front door in Bellevue by 1:30 in the morning. But the negotiations wrapped up sooner than expected. With a few quick adjustments to his tickets and a swift maneuver through LAX, Hurley was airborne by 1:45 p.m. Eager to let Suzanne know about his early return, he used the in-flight phone to call home. No answer. She must be at the office. He fished his briefcase from the overhead bin, found the number, and dialed. Jensen, Sharon, and Anderson, a crisp voice answered. How may I direct your call? Jennifer, please, Hurley said, accustomed to going straight through to Suzanne's personal assistant. I'm sorry, Jennifer isn't in today or tomorrow. May I help you? The receptionist offered. Then, could I speak to Mrs. Conroy, please? A slight pause on the other end. Mrs. Conroy? May I ask who's calling? This is her husband, Hurley said, a hint of impatience creeping into his voice. Please put me through. The receptionist hesitated. I'm sorry, sir, but Mrs. Conroy is tied up right now. I'm not sure she's available. Can I take a message? No, Hurley said after a beat. I'll just talk to her at home this evening. Just let her know I called. He ended the call, a strange, nagging feeling beginning to prick at him. For the next half hour, he tried to pin down the source of his discomfort. Suzanne had promised him on the phone just last night that she'd be at her desk all day. Of course, she could be tied up with a client, deep in some legal labyrinth and unreachable. That was plausible. But Jennifer's absence, that was the detail that didn't fit. As far as Hurley knew, Jennifer's schedule was a mirror of Suzanne's. The plane touched down in Seattle at 6:35 p.m. He took a cab to their Bellevue residence, but the sight of the dark, silent house was jarring. Suzanne was usually home by 6. He let himself in, the quiet amplifying his unease. After unpacking, he made himself a grilled cheese sandwich. By 8 o'clock, with Suzanne still nowhere to be found, anxiety gnawed at him. He paced the floor. He tried her cell phone, but an automated voice informed him the number was not reachable. At 9:20, his own phone rang, shattering the silence. It was Suzanne. The worry in her voice was palpable. Hurley, I was starting to get concerned. I called the hotel after dinner, and they said you'd checked out. Is everything all right? Just a change in plans, he said, his voice carefully neutral. Where are you? Are you at home? She asked. He glanced around the empty kitchen, at his own makeshift dinner plate sitting in the sink. Yes, he lied. Just finished cleaning up. It's quiet here tonight. So, you'll be back Sunday as planned? I'll be home all day Sunday, he said, the words feeling foreign in his mouth. Did anything unusual happen today? I tried you at the office this afternoon. Oh, well, nothing out of the ordinary, she said. I was tied up with John Stickner all day. He's been a huge help with the Melrose account. I really owe him one. There was an odd note in her voice he couldn't quite place. Honey, it looks like I might get that partnership after this. Mr. Jensen practically assured me. That's wonderful, darling. We'll have to celebrate. Don't worry, honey, she purred. We can start the party on Sunday when you're back. Please don't be late. I miss you terribly. It's going to be so lonely in this big bed tonight. After the call ended, a cold knot formed in Hurley's stomach. He sat in the dark, a deluge of lies washing over him. He tossed and turned in the enormous empty bed she had so vividly described, sleep eluding him. By 9 o'clock the next morning, it was clear Suzanne was not coming home. He called her office again and was told Mrs. Conroy was not expected until Monday. Before leaving the house, Hurley found Suzanne's office directory. He took their dark green Explorer and drove to her office building. Her gray BMW was not there. A terrible feeling began to bloom in his chest as he keyed John Stickner's address into the GPS. He found the residence nestled in a forest in the affluent Medina area. As he drove slowly past, he saw it. Suzanne's BMW parked beside the garage. The world swam before his eyes. He had to pull the car over, blinking hard to clear his vision. Defeated, he drove home. The house felt like a tomb. His marriage, the life he loved, was crumbling. The only interruption was another call from Suzanne around 9:45 p.m. She lamented again how empty their bed felt. In response, Hurley mumbled something unintelligible. What was that, honey? She asked, perplexed. Nothing, he said, his voice flat. Just agreeing. It must be lonely. He went to bed at midnight, his mind racing. Was this revenge? What was wrong? What did she need that he wasn't providing? After another restless night, he was wide awake by 8 o'clock Sunday morning. He sat in the living room with the curtains drawn, the lights off. Around 10, he heard the familiar sound of Suzanne's BMW pulling into the garage. A moment later, she entered the kitchen, carrying a small overnight bag. He watched her from the depths of his dark leather armchair. She wore a sleeveless red silk blouse and a plaid skirt, the top buttons undone. The tie cloisonné necklace he'd given her for their 3rd anniversary rested in the hollow of her throat. She looked refreshed, serene. She crossed the room, then stopped short, her eyes falling on the disarray in the sink. Her gaze flickered around the room. She moved slowly, cautiously, toward the living room fireplace, her hand closing around the heavy iron poker. At that moment, Hurley, a dark shape in the armchair, raised his teacup to his lips. The small movement caught her eye. "Oh my God," she gasped, her voice a reedy tremor. "You scared the life out of me. When did you get back?" Hurley let the silence stretch before he finally spoke. "A couple of days ago." His voice, usually so vibrant, was flat and devoid of life. Suzanne's face went slack with disbelief as she half collapsed into a chair across from him. "Why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you call?" "I did call," he said. "Thursday afternoon. You weren't at the office. Neither was Jennifer." He took a slow, deliberate sip of his tea. "I was sitting in this very chair when you called me later that night. I spent Thursday and Friday night right here, in that vast, empty bed you described. The only sound in the room was the soft, choked sobbing of Suzanne. I have a feeling, he said, his voice dangerously calm, that the bed you occupied wasn't nearly as lonely as you claimed. He set his cup down. Explain it to me, Suzanne. Help me understand. Her face crumpled. Hurley, I love you, she wept. It wasn't about you. It wasn't about us. It was something I felt I had to do. It had nothing to do with my feelings for you. That doesn't make any sense, Suzanne, he said, his voice hardening. How is sleeping with another man not about us? I felt obligated, Hurley. I was repaying John for what he did for me. Hurley watched his wife in silence for a long moment, then rose and went to the kitchen to refill his cup. When he returned, he settled back into his armchair. Explain it to me, he said, his voice a low command. Explain why you felt you owed John Stickner enough to break your wedding vows to me. Did he blackmail you before helping you with the Earl of Melrose? No, he wouldn't do that. He's an honorable man. What he did was out of kindness, knowing I wasn't to blame for the mess. He wouldn't expect anything in return. Then if he didn't ask, why did you volunteer it? That's what I don't understand. What am I missing? You're making it sound sordid, she protested. It wasn't like that. It was something he deserved. I told you, it had nothing to do with us. Was it something I did? Some fault of mine that led to this? No, I told you, it has nothing to do with you. I had to thank him for what he did. His help benefits both of us. It wasn't for me, it was for him, and it had nothing to do with my love for you. After a moment of reflection, he remarked slowly, his voice laced with sorrow. If you are so distressed by my describing your affair as coarse and sordid, does that mean it felt beautiful to you? After a short pause, Hurley spoke again. Do you remember, Suzanne, how I always promised to be yours? And how often you claimed me as yours? You insisted you were entirely mine without ever being asked. Can you remember that? Can you remember how deeply I believed we belonged to each other? His voice was flat, devoid of emotion, but Suzanne could hear the tremor beneath his words. Oh, yes, I do belong to you, she insisted. This had nothing to do with you, with us. Oh, Suzanne, how can you say one thing and so blatantly contradict it with another? Don't you see the conflict? You gave away the one thing that mattered most to me, the one thing I cherished above all else in this world, yourself. You gave yourself to another man. And listening to you now, I'm starting to believe you hold the intimacy we shared in very low esteem. You gave it to a man who, by your own admission, didn't even ask for it. It's as if you begged him to take it. He said the last words with a note of deep melancholy. And now you're telling me it had nothing to do with me. But it means nothing, Hurley. I'm still entirely yours. Nothing inside me has changed. I love you completely. I am yours, Suzanne cried. Every experience changes us. You just came from a sexual encounter with someone else, Hurley said, his voice trembling. You engaged in intimate acts, things meant only for someone you love. Sobbing, he asked, how many nights, Suzanne? Was it just those two? How many others? After a long moment, he regained control of his emotions, his face becoming a mask. And I can't help but wonder, Suzanne, how many other men have deserved what was mine? You claim to be mine, and yet you gave yourself away so casually. As he spoke, Suzanne dissolved into uncontrollable sobs, her body curling in on itself. Her shoulders slumped, and her arms wrapped around her knees. She buried her face in her hands, her hair becoming tangled with tears. For hours, the man sat lost in thought while his wife huddled beside him. The lights were off, and the only sound came from the quiet, sunny Saturday outside. Until the mantel clock struck noon, the room was filled with nothing but the sound of Suzanne's weeping. "Suzanne," he finally said, "I don't know where we are. I swear to you, my love for you is as strong today as it was last Sunday when I left for Los Angeles. But I don't know where we go from here. You insist your betrayal has nothing to do with me. You don't grasp the gravity of your actions. My trust in you is shattered. I don't know how to rebuild it or what you could possibly do to earn it back. And if you're about to suggest that I seek revenge by being unfaithful, thinking it will somehow balance the scales, then we are finished. First, if you place so little value on my fidelity, it says a great deal about how little you care for loyalty. Second, two wrongs don't make a right. They only double the damage. He gently placed his empty teacup on the fireplace hearth, then rose carefully and walked to the dining room. He drew aside the curtains and looked out at their pristine, sun-drenched garden. He spoke so softly that Suzanne had to strain to hear him. "Suzanne, I want to shake you. I want to shake you so hard. I have never wanted to harm a woman, least of all my wife, my love. It would be foolish for me to confront John Stickner now, even if you are implying that you were the one who seduced him." Suzanne let out a small, choked sound, as if to refute the accusation. Hurley continued, "You're telling me it wasn't his idea. But consider this. Now that he has known your affection with no effort on his part, won't he expect it to be readily available in the future? Regardless of what you told him, he may now see you as easily accessible." His remarks pierced through Suzanne's attempted protest. "Perhaps he won't think you're available to just anyone, but he will think you are available to him. To him, you are an easy conquest. In time, he will lose all respect and esteem for you." Suzanne, if we are to save this marriage in any way, we must face this head on, hour by hour, day by day, within these walls, as we struggle to rebuild our communication. Taking a deep breath, he continued, almost in a whisper, "I don't know if it's possible. What I do know is that we cannot make any decisions today. It will take months, perhaps even years, before we can feel truly comfortable with each other again. For tonight, I will sleep in the guest room. Tomorrow, we will replace our one large bed with two separate, standard-sized ones. The master bedroom has enough space. Perhaps, if we both work at it, we can get through this, if we both truly want this to work. I'm beginning to wonder if we do. For now, this is the best I can offer." After a final glance at their beautiful garden, turning back to the living room was like peering into a gloomy dungeon. "I am willing to try. We can discuss what marriage means to each of us in the months to come. Maybe we can salvage this. Suzanne, I do still love you." He opened the glass doors to the terrace and stepped outside. As he closed the door behind him, the sound of his wife's cries echoed, muffled through the glass.